Don't move. The voice came from behind her. Don't say a word. Victoria Hale froze in the middle of the 23rd floor executive hallway, one hand still gripping her phone. Outside the glass walls, Chicago glowed beneath a pale winter sunset. Inside, the hallway was silent except for the faint hum of the building's ventilation. Then she heard it, a soft metallic click. Her eyes dropped. 2 inches from the toe of her expensive black shoe was a thin, nearly invisible wire stretched across the marble floor. Victoria's breath caught. Behind her stood Daniel Brooks, the building's night janitor, holding his mop so tightly his knuckles had turned white. Slowly, he whispered, "Take your phone out of your hand and put it on the floor." Victoria stared at him as if he had lost his mind. She was the billionaire owner of Hale Development. People didn't give her orders. But something in Daniel's face stopped her. Not fear. Recognition. Like he had seen this before. She bent slowly and placed the phone on the floor. Daniel took one careful step forward. "Now," he said, barely breathing, "look down. Don't touch anything." That was when Victoria noticed the small black device hidden beneath the bench beside her. A red light blinked. Once. Twice. And suddenly, the most powerful woman in the building realized she had no idea what was happening. Daniel did. Daniel Brooks had worked nights at Hale Tower for 11 years. Most people barely noticed him. At 43, he had tired eyes, rough hands, and a permanent crease between his eyebrows from years of worrying about things he couldn't control. He cleaned offices after midnight, unclogged sinks, changed light bulbs, and knew every strange sound the old building made. He was also a single father. His daughter, Lily, was 9. Every morning, after finishing his shift, Daniel walked her to school before going home to sleep for a few hours. He packed her lunches, braided her hair badly, and apologized every time he burned dinner. Since his wife, Rachel, had died 4 years earlier, Daniel had learned something difficult. Love didn't make life easier. It just gave you someone worth staying strong for. That evening, Daniel had been cleaning near the executive hallway when he noticed the wire. At first, he assumed it belonged to a maintenance crew. Then he saw where it led, and his stomach dropped. Because 20 years earlier, Daniel had served in the Army as an explosive ordnance technician. He hadn't talked about those years much. Lily knew only that loud fireworks made her father uncomfortable. Daniel had left the military after an accident overseas injured his back and took the life of his closest friend. Afterward, he had spent years trying to build an ordinary life. But some instincts never disappeared, and neither did certain sounds. Like the tiny click he had heard when Victoria stepped toward the wire. "Is it a bomb?" she whispered. Daniel didn't answer. "Daniel, please," he said quietly. "Don't move." For the first time in years, Victoria Hale obeyed someone without arguing. Daniel studied the hallway. The device beneath the bench was too small to be a typical explosive. The wire was attached to a pressure trigger. But there was something else. A second wire disappeared beneath the wall panel. His eyes narrowed. "This isn't meant to kill you," he said. Victoria looked at him. "What? I don't know what it does. But whoever put it here wanted you to step exactly where you're standing." Her face changed. Victoria had enemies. Business rivals. Former partners. Angry tenants from projects that had gone wrong. But this felt personal. Daniel carefully backed away and pulled the emergency phone from the wall. No signal. He checked his own phone. Nothing. The building's network had been disabled. That was the first twist Victoria didn't see coming. The second came 30 seconds later. The elevator doors opened at the far end of the hallway. A security guard stepped out. "Ms. Hale," he called. Daniel instantly raised a hand. "Stop." The guard froze. Then Daniel saw the badge. It was upside down. A tiny detail. But Daniel knew the building staff. He knew how they wore their badges. And he had never seen this man before. The stranger's eyes moved from Daniel to Victoria. Then he ran. Daniel grabbed the mop handle and struck the emergency glass beside him, triggering the building alarm manually. The stranger disappeared into the stairwell. Within seconds, Victoria's real security team stormed the floor. The device was secured. The hallway was evacuated. And Victoria stood near the elevators, staring at Daniel. He looked exhausted. Not heroic, just exhausted. As if he had suddenly been dragged back into a life he had spent 20 years trying to forget. The investigation revealed something disturbing. There was no explosive. The device contained a hidden camera and a sophisticated tracking transmitter. If Victoria had crossed the wire, it would have activated. Someone wanted to follow her movements outside the building, but the person who planted it was never found. Security footage from 2 cameras had been erased. Victoria's board immediately demanded tighter security. Her advisors suggested moving her to a private residence. Her lawyers wanted Daniel questioned because of his military background and his access to the building. That suggestion made Victoria furious. "He saved my life," she said. "We don't know that," one advisor replied. Victoria turned cold. "I do." But Daniel surprised her. He didn't want a reward. He didn't want publicity. He asked only for one thing. "Please leave my daughter out of this." Victoria looked at him differently then. Not as the janitor who had saved her. As a father protecting the one person he had left. 3 days later, Daniel was suspended from work. Not because anyone proved he had done anything wrong. The company's insurance investigators simply said he was connected to the incident. Daniel came home early that morning carrying a cardboard box. Lily looked up from the kitchen table. "Did they fire you?" Daniel tried to smile. "Just some paperwork." She nodded, pretending to believe him. Then she quietly pushed half her breakfast toward him. "I don't need this much." Daniel looked at the toast. His throat tightened. Lily had seen him skip meals before. She knew exactly what was happening. That night, Daniel sat alone in the dark apartment, staring at unpaid bills. For the first time, he regretted stepping into that hallway. Not because he had saved Victoria. Because doing the right thing had once again put Lily's future at risk. Then came another knock at the door. Victoria Hale stood outside. No security team. No assistants. Just Victoria, holding a paper bag from a small neighborhood bakery. Daniel didn't invite her in immediately. "You shouldn't be here." "Probably not," she admitted. Lily appeared behind him. "Are you the lady Dad yelled at?" Victoria almost laughed. Apparently. Victoria had spent years believing leadership meant distance. Don't get too close. Don't trust too easily. Don't let anyone see weakness. But Daniel's small apartment unsettled her more than any boardroom ever had. There were drawings on the refrigerator. A missing cabinet handle held together with tape. A framed photograph of Daniel, Rachel, and Lily at a beach. And on the wall above the kitchen table was a handwritten list titled, "Things We're Still Going to Do Someday." Number 1 was, "Visit the ocean again." Victoria learned that Daniel had canceled a long-planned trip after Rachel got sick. They had never made it back. Lily had added the list after her mother died. Victoria said nothing about it. But she remembered. A week later, the investigation ended. The attacker was identified through footage from a parking garage. He was a former contractor whose company had gone bankrupt after losing a major project years earlier. He blamed Victoria for everything that followed. He hadn't wanted to kill her. He wanted access to her private movements and personal life. His obsession with revenge had become its own prison. Victoria felt no victory when he was arrested. Only sadness. One ruined life had almost destroyed another. And Daniel? He was cleared immediately. But he returned to work with a surprise waiting. His position had changed. Not to executive. Not to some unbelievable 6-figure job. Victoria had created a new building safety role and offered it to him. Emergency Preparedness Coordinator. Better hours. Training. Benefits. And most importantly, he could pick Lily up from school. Daniel stared at the contract for a long time. "I don't want charity." Victoria shook her head. "It isn't." She placed an old photograph on the desk. It showed a younger Daniel in uniform beside his military unit. "I checked your record. You spent years keeping people safe. You did it again. I need someone in this building who notices what the rest of us miss." Daniel looked down. Then he signed. 6 months later, Lily stood barefoot at the edge of the Atlantic Ocean. The wind whipped through her hair as waves rolled toward her feet. Daniel stood beside her. For a moment, neither of them spoke. Then Lily smiled. "We finally did number 1. Daniel looked back toward the shore. Victoria was sitting far away on a bench, giving them space. She had quietly arranged transportation after learning Daniel had saved enough vacation time, but couldn't afford the trip. Daniel hadn't wanted to accept. Victoria had told him only one thing. Some kindness doesn't need to be paid back. Just carried forward. Lily reached for her father's hand. A wave rushed over their feet. Daniel closed his eyes. For years, he had believed his life had become smaller after losing Rachel. But standing there, with the ocean before him and his daughter beside him, he finally understood. A life isn't measured by how powerful you become. Sometimes, it is measured by the moments when you see danger coming and choose to protect someone anyway, even when no one may ever know why. Because the quietest act of courage can change more lives than the world will ever see.